Hello everyone. In this video we will present about language learning in the Montessori classroom. And before that I will introduce you to our group member. First is Medya. Her student number is 020. The second is Septia. Her student number is 080. And I am Dicky. The student number is 084, and Aditya, the student number is 087. The Montessori method developed by Maria Montessori, and it focused on child-centered learning and independence. So in this presentation, we will explain how Montessori supports children's language development. The next is Montessori philosophy of learning. The Montessori method is based on several important principles. First is the child as an active learner. That means children construct their knowledge through interaction with their environment. Second is freedom within limits. Students are free to choose activities, but within structured classroom rules. And the third is intrinsic motivation. Montessori believes that children learn because they are naturally curious, not because they are forced. And the last principle is learning through experience, where the knowledge develops through hands-on exploration and real activities. The next is the observant mind. And one important concept in Montessori theory is the observant mind. Montessori explained that young children have a special mental ability that allows them to absorb information from their surroundings effortlessly. In the term of language learning, this means children can acquire language naturally without formal instruction. They are able to absorb complex elements of language such as grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation simply by being exposed to a language in their environment. This is why young children can learn language much faster than adults.
Now, let's talk about the golden age. According to Lillard, between birth and age 6, children don't just learn language, they absorb it. Think of it as a biological window or a special open door. During this time, they are naturally driven to pick up sounds and rhythms without any formal lessons. This is why in a Montessori setting, we say the environment is the primary teacher. If the environment is rich in language, the child's brain will simply do the rest of the work effortlessly. Have you wondered about how this absorption happened? Well, it follows two fascinating phases. From 0 to 3 years old, that is called unconscious absorption, and then the second phases is 3 to 6 years old, that it's called conscious development. Let's take a look on the unconscious absorption first. At this stage, the child is like a high-tech recording device. They take in every sound and pattern without even trying. And then, from age 3 to 6, the magic happens. It becomes conscious development. You will notice they start asking, what is this or why? They are no longer just recording. They are actively organizing their own internal dictionary. Now, let's move on to the Montessori's beliefs that language is so much more than just grammar rules. They believe that language is a social tool. It's how these children build their identity and find their place in the community. That's why you won't find a silent Montessori classroom. The teacher actually encouraged freedom of conversation. Why? Because the teacher believed, the Montessori's believed that talking with peers is the most powerful engine for language growth. They learn to negotiate, share ideas, and connect to each other. Lastly, in Montessori's belief or Montessori school, before the children even touch a book or a pen, the teacher focused on the oral foundation. And here's the golden rule. No baby talk. In that phrase or in that rule, the teacher respects the child's intelligence by using precise vocabulary. For example, instead of just saying, look at the flower part, a Montessori teacher would say, look at the petal or look at the statement. By giving them the real name of things from day one, we help them to build a sophisticated and confident vocabulary that will last a lifetime in the children's mind.
Next is rich spoken language environment. Okay, in Montessori education, spoken language development is very important before children learn reading and writing. Teachers create a rich language environment through storytelling, songs, and daily conversations. Teachers also introduce precise vocabulary to help children develop a large vocabulary. And now I will give you a discussion question. Do you think spoken language should always be developed before children learn reading and writing? Please think it. Next is the explosion into writing. Montessori discovered that children sometimes start writing before they can read. This happens when they understand the connection between sounds, letters, and hand movement. This moment is called the explosion into writing because children suddenly begin writing many words. Now I will give you another discussion question. What do you think about this idea? Do you think writing can develop before reading and language learning? Next is sandpaper letters activity. Okay, about this activity, this is a very interesting activity in Montessori. Well, one well-known Montessori materials is sandpaper letters. These letters help children to connect the sound of a letter with its shape. During the activity, children trace the sandpaper letter with their finger while repeating the sound. This allows them to learn through visual, auditory, and tactile experience. Next is about movable alphabet activity. Another important Montessori material is the movable alphabet. This material allows children to build words even before they master handwriting. For example, when the teacher says the word cat, the child selects the letter C, A, and T and arranges them to form the word. This helps children to develop phonetic awareness and early writing skill. And the next is about extensive reading in Montessori. In Montessori classroom, children are encouraged to read independently and choose books based on their interests. This approach is similar to extensive reading, where students read a lot of material for enjoyment and learning. This helps them to develop reading fluency, expand vocabulary, and build a positive attitude toward reading. And now I will give you another critical question. What do you think about giving students the freedom to choose their own reading materials? Do you think it can increase their motivation or their motivation to read or not. Please think it before you have a class in Thursday.
Okay, now let's talk about the role of the teacher in Montessori education. Different than the regular classroom in our country, in Montessori they have different activities rather than regular classroom. In regular classroom, usually the teacher lecturing all the time, so the students feel bored easily, and because the teacher doesn't have the activities much, they only lecturing all the time. But in Montessori education, the teacher acts as a facilitator that guides students through several activities. So here's the teacher responsibility. First, one of the main responsibility of the teacher is observing students carefully. Through observation, the teacher can understand how each child learns, what interests them, and what challenges that they might face in the future. This observation helps the teacher determine the most appropriate material or the most best activities for each student. The second, the teacher also need to understanding the student interests and needs. In Montessori classroom, learning is often individualist, meaning that different students might work in different activities based on their development and their needs and their interests. The teacher, by understanding these needs, the teachers can provide learning experiences that are meaningful and engaging for each child. So, another important responsibility is preparing supportive learning environment. The teacher organizes the classroom with appropriate Montessori materials, making sure everything is accessible and arranged in a way that encourages independent learning. A well-prepared environment helps students explore, practice skills, and develop confidence. And the next is the teachers guide students when necessary. Although Montessori education gives the students freedom to explore their needs, their interests, the teacher is still present to give explanation, demonstrate how to use learning materials, or provide help when the students face difficulties.
One important concept in Montessori education is freedom within limits. Students are allowed to choose activities and explore materials independently. However, they still need to follow classroom rules and respect others. This helps children develop both independence and responsibility.
And the next is, can teacher ask critical question? Yes, teacher in Montessori classroom can ask critical or reflective question. This question helps students think more deeply, express their ideas, develop reasoning skills, and connect knowledge with real-life situations. But however, teachers should guide discussion rather than dominate it. And the example is, instead of giving direct answers, teacher may ask students questions that encourage them to think. Teacher in Montessori classroom can also ask critical questions to stimulate student thinking. However, the purpose is not to test students, but to encourage them to reflect and express their ideas. In the way, learning becomes more interactive and meaningful.
Grammar is understood as the structure or anatomy of the language. This means that grammar is not only studied as a set of rules to be memorized, but as a system that helps children understand how language works and how words related to each other in a sentence. So, through this approach, children are encouraged to actively explore language. They do not only learn rules theoretically, but also discover language patterns themselves through various activities. Here, for example, is a building sentence using movable alphabets. Children can build sentences using movable alphabets, check word order to see how the meaning of a sentence changes, or identify part of a sentence such as noun, verbs, and adjective. In this way, children learn grammar through direct experience. So this approach makes grammar learning more interactive, interesting, and easy to understand. Children do not feel like they are memorizing complicated rules, but rather feel like they are exploring the language they use. So in this section, Montessori will often learn grammar through experience, not memorizing the rumus. Like when we in regular school, in SMA, SMP, we often learn grammar through memorizing pattern. For example, subject, verb, adjective, urutan kata-kata, plural, singular. So saat kita SMP atau SMA, kita seringkali menghafalkan rumus-rumus grammar. Namun di Montessori School ini mereka belajar grammar melalui activities, and that's I think the best way to learn grammar, not boring and tidak menghafal. Okay, next is the benefits of Montessori language learning. So language learning in the Montessori method has several important benefits for child development. One of this intrinsic motivation, which is motivation to learn, that comes from within the child. Children learn because they are interested and want to know something, not because of concern or pressure from outside. So in addition, the Montessori approach also helps develop executive functions, which is the cognitive ability to relate it to the concentration, self-control, and the ability to regulate attention. Through the structured activity that still allow freedom, children learn to focus, manage time, and complete tasks independently. Language learning in Montessori also meaningful learning. Language is not taught separately from real life, but is always connected to children's daily experiences. This make it easier for children to understand and remember what have they learned. So in addition, Montessori classes usually consist of mixed age groups. This encourages more active social interaction, as children can communicate, collaborate, and learn from each other. Next, this is the criticism of Montessori education. So, or the advantages of the Montessori education. Jadi pada bagian ini kita akan membahas tentang kekurangan dari Montessori ini. So, despite its many advantages, Montessori education has also received some criticism. One criticism that often arises is that this approach is considered to limit fantasy in early childhood. Montessori places more emphasis on activities related to the real world, leading some people to argue that children's imagination may be stunted. So in addition, Montessori schools are quite expensive, making this type of education inaccessible for some people. This poses a challenge in expanding the use of the Montessori method among various segments of society. So another criticism related to differences in the implementation of the Montessori method, which is highly dependent on the quality of teacher training. If teachers do not receive adequate Montessori training, the method might not be implemented optimally. So, this various criticism shows that although Montessori has many advantages, good teachers and good teacher training and balanced educational practice remain very important to ensure the successful implementation of this method.
And to conclude this presentation, Montessori language learning focuses on natural acquisition, hands-on materials, independence, and social interaction. Children learn language through experience, exploration, and meaningful communication, rather than memorization. Through these principles, Montessori education helps children develop strong language skills, confidence, and lifelong learning abilities.
And this is the three questions that we will discuss in the next meeting.
So thank you for your attention and thank you for watching this video.